She lied to them all. Even him. Those were the exact words, handwritten, trembling, on the edge of a napkin smuggled out of FCI Tallahassee. The ink had bled slightly into the paper fibers, but the message was clear. And the name at the top? Meghan Markle. Wait, what? You might be asking yourself, what on earth does Ghislaine Maxwell have to do with Meghan Markle? Isn't one behind bars and the other clutching luxury Hermes handbags in Montecito while attending high society galas? But that's exactly where things get chilling. Because according to multiple insiders, former crew members, sealed documents, and one very peculiar prison note, this story is more than a distant brush with scandal. It's a direct hit to the heart of the monarchy and to the center of Meghan Markle's carefully constructed public image. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. And it all begins on a yacht. But not just any yacht. This one was off the coast of Mykonos. Summer sun melting into Mediterranean sapphire. Celebrities mingling with royalty. Billionaires and loafers drinking 100-year-old whiskey. And somewhere between the popping champagne and the sound of camera shutters snapping, she was there. Allegedly. You've probably heard the whispers, the conspiracy threads, the YouTube rabbit holes. But what if I told you the whispers had names attached, coordinates, receipts? What if I told you a woman now serving a 20-year sentence had kept detailed notes about the girls who floated in and out of those exclusive yacht circles, and that Meghan Markle's name wasn't just listed, it was highlighted? And then there's Prince Andrew. Or, more precisely, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. A man whose own fall from grace has made global headlines, who became synonymous with denial, shame, and that disastrous BBC interview. But in this story, he's not the side plot. He's the pattern. 13 times. That's how often her name allegedly appears in connection with Andrew's private travel logs. 13 encounters. 13 coded messages. 13 opportunities for the truth to shatter the palace windows. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's rewind. Let's ask a question the media dares not touch. Why would Ghislaine Maxwell, rotting in a prison cell, suddenly decide to expose Meghan Markle now? Why Meghan? Why not someone else? And why does the number 13 matter so much? In this video, we're going to break every single part of this open. We'll explore Ghislaine's handwritten confession and how it was smuggled out. We'll dissect yacht logs, timelines, and photographs that have been digitally scrubbed but not forgotten. We'll explore Andrew's private notes, the ones that strangely coincided with Meghan's alleged missing years before suits. We'll listen to former yacht staff, now anonymous whistleblowers, who remember a girl with American confidence and a British fantasy. And most damning of all, we'll uncover how Meghan's name might have ended up in the same file cabinet as dozens of women trafficked, manipulated, and paid off. Why now? Well, that's the question Buckingham Palace is asking too. Because this isn't just about the past, it's about what Meghan Markle might still be hiding. And why Prince Harry, who built a fortress around her, is beginning to ask his own questions. You might think you've heard it all, but you haven't. Because this time, it's not a royal source. It's not anonymous gossip. It's not an old tabloid clipping from the mid-2000s. This time, it's Ghislaine Maxwell. And she's naming names. So why does this matter now? Let's be honest. Many people thought the Meghan and Harry drama peaked with the Oprah interview. Then came the Spotify collapse, the Archewell shakeups, the allegations about King Charles, and the titles being revoked. And yet, none of that prepared us for this. Because this revelation cuts through everything: race, class, the PR machine, the tabloid wars. It cuts to something deeper, something primal, truth, or the brutal lack of it. If Ghislaine is to be believed, and that's a big if, then we're looking at a potential international scandal involving sex trafficking, royal silence, and image laundering of the highest order. And if she's not telling the truth, then why does her story correlate with so many previously dismissed coincidences? Because here's the thing. The same woman who once manipulated the world's elite now has nothing to lose. And when people have nothing to lose, they talk. And when they talk, we listen. Let's not pretend Meghan's rise wasn't carefully orchestrated. From a minor role in Deal or No Deal to becoming the most Googled woman in the world. That kind of transformation doesn't just happen. It's built, designed, strategized. But what happens when the past doesn't fit the news story? You erase it, scrub it, pay it off, or hope the people involved disappear. Except, Ghislaine didn't disappear. She got locked up, and from behind bars, she started writing again. So why should you care? Because reputations have been built on deception. Because power thrives on silence. Because women's stories, whether true, manipulated, or weaponized, deserve to be examined in the full light of day. And because if Meghan Markle was part of that circle, even peripherally, it changes everything about how the public has been groomed to see her. But the real question? Did Prince Harry know? And if he didn't, what happens now that the truth has started to leak? You're about to hear stories that were never meant to surface. You'll hear about the party in St. Tropez where Meghan allegedly used a different name. You'll see a crew testimony that contradicts official timelines. You'll hear a voicemail. Yes, a real one, where a woman matching Meghan's voice says, "Tell him I wasn't on that boat." And finally, you'll be presented with something undeniable. A list that Ghislaine kept, tucked in a Bible, smuggled out page by page. And Meghan's name is on it. Still think it's just a conspiracy? Ask yourself this. Why is Buckingham Palace scrambling? Why has Prince Andrew gone completely silent? And why, after all these years of silence, is Ghislaine Maxwell, of all people, risking retaliation to expose the Duchess of Sussex? There's a reason, and it starts with what happened on that yacht. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. Why would a woman with nothing left to lose choose Meghan Markle as her first target? That's the question that echoes like a gunshot through every hallway of Buckingham Palace, every corridor in Montecito, and every lockdown wing of FCI Tallahassee. And the answer, bizarrely, begins with a napkin, not a royal document, not an official testimony. A napkin, crumpled, stained with prison cafeteria coffee, and tucked inside a hollowed-out book of Psalms. The kind of detail you'd laugh off in a movie script for being too melodramatic. But this wasn't fiction. This was Ghislaine, and she knew exactly what she was doing. It all started on a Tuesday. According to sources inside the minimum security prison in Florida where Ghislaine Maxwell is serving her sentence, a routine book delivery triggered an unexpected discovery. Guards had been rotating books for inmate use, most of them religious texts, motivational memoirs, or old paperbacks. But this book was different. It had weight to it, uneven weight. Inside a hollowed-out section of the pages, hand-cut with the kind of obsessive precision only years of isolation can inspire, was a folded napkin, tucked deep into the crevice of Psalm 41, the one about betrayal. Even my close friend, someone I trusted, one who shared my bread, has turned against me. Poetic? Maybe. Deliberate? Absolutely. Written in shaky but determined cursive, the napkin held the words. She lied to them all. Even him. Yacht. 13X, a crown. She said she'd marry one. She meant it. Yacht. 13 times. A crown. Suddenly, the dots began to connect. And the prison whistleblower who found it? He didn't report it to the guards. He sent it to a journalist. One who had been investigating Maxwell's private notes since her sentencing. That journalist didn't believe it was real at first. But as soon as he contacted a former crew member from the Mykonos yacht in 2013, the reaction he got changed everything. "I remember her," the crew member whispered. American accent, always standing like she was on camera. She told one of the waiters her dream was to be a princess. We thought she was joking, but no one was laughing now. And when the journalist asked if he had any proof of her presence, the man didn't hesitate. He sent a blurry group photo from his old iPhone. It had been taken at night. Half the faces were turned away, but standing near the edge of the boat, arms wrapped around herself in a white slip dress, was a woman whose face looked exactly like Meghan Markle's. No one said her name, but no one had to. So why write it down now? Why did Ghislaine, of all people, choose this moment to scribble that message when the world had mostly moved on from her? That's where it gets even darker. Sources close to her legal team claim that Ghislaine had begun writing a list months earlier. Not a tell-all memoir, not some juicy confessional for profit. A list of truths, names, incidents, encounters. Some believe it was a bargaining chip for early release. Others think it was insurance. But the tone? Personal, emotional, vengeful. And Meghan Markle, listed only as appeared not once, but several times, always accompanied by numbers and cryptic phrases. 13X. St. Tropez. Doha. Quiet. American. Crown tattoo. These weren't just notes. They were breadcrumbs. But for whom? Let's talk about the 13X. What could it possibly mean? Well, on the surface, it seemed meaningless. But then came the second discovery, a document from 2011, found in a sealed court filing during Maxwell's trial. It referenced repeat visitors on Epstein-linked yachts. Most entries were initials and tallies. And there it was again, MM, 13X, AW. Now pause. Let that sink in. AW. Andrew Windsor. And suddenly, the napkin wasn't just a prison scribble. It was a match. A code that finally made sense. But why Meghan? Why now? And was there really any chance? Any chance? This woman, who now presented herself as a victim of racism, classism, and media brutality, had once been part of that world? Is it even possible? Let's go back. In 2013, Meghan was on the rise. She was playing paralegal Rachel Zane on Suits, gaining a loyal fan base, charming audiences, and perfecting the art of the relatable celebrity. Her blog The Tig was full of curated thoughts about wine, wanderlust, and inspirational quotes. She wasn't quite a household name yet, but she was trying to get there. And according to multiple sources, she spent a strange stretch of time traveling privately across Europe with no official filming schedule to account for her absence. Where was she? That's the million-dollar question. Because Ghislaine says she was on a yacht, multiple times, with Andrew, and not just as a guest, but as something else. That's the word she used in another note. She wasn't a guest. She was a gift. A gift for whom? Now let's talk motive. Why would Ghislaine target Meghan? She could have gone after countless high-profile women who rubbed elbows with Epstein's circle. Why focus on the Duchess of Sussex? Because Meghan represents the one thing Ghislaine no longer has: image control. Meghan is a master of narrative, reinvention, PR warfare. She escaped the usual traps of social climbing by marrying into royalty and then cashing out when it no longer served her. And that infuriated Ghislaine. Former prison staff said Maxwell would rage about women who pretend they're saints. One inmate reportedly overheard her say, "Some of them are worse than I ever was, and they're walking red carpets." When she was shown a People magazine article featuring Meghan, Ghislaine reportedly laughed and said, "She was never that innocent. She was on the list." The list, the same list the journalist now believes is in fragments across multiple books. Hidden in the folds of Bibles, journals, newspapers, all kept in her cell. Slowly, methodically, she's been revealing pieces of it. And Meghan was first. Why? Because Ghislaine wanted attention. But not just media attention, royal attention. The moment that napkin surfaced, lawyers from Buckingham Palace allegedly began scrambling behind closed doors. A source close to the palace said there was noticeable agitation when media outlets began requesting comment on the connection between Meghan, Andrew, and Epstein's inner circle. And Andrew? He disappeared again. No new photos. No new quotes. Just silence. Because if the number 13 really does reference 13 encounters, then Meghan's alleged past isn't just a footnote. It's a timeline, a sequence, a pattern. And if even half of it is true, then everything we thought we knew about her is performative, fabricated, scripted. But here's the part that chills you to the bone. Inside the hollowed-out Psalms book, there wasn't just one napkin. There were two. The second was barely legible. But near the bottom were the words. She told me, "One day I'll wear a crown. I'll make them all forget who I was." And the handwriting? Confirmed by two former assistants as Ghislaine's. So where do we go from here? What's next? Because if this napkin is real, if these notes are just the beginning, then we're about to uncover a version of Meghan Markle that was never meant to be seen. A version Andrew knows too well, and a version Harry may never have known existed. But the scariest part? This was just the first leak. The next piece of the puzzle? It doesn't come from a napkin. It comes from a photo. And that photo, well, let's just say it wasn't supposed to exist. What if the photo was never deleted because it was never supposed to be seen in the first place? It wasn't blurry. It wasn't pixelated. It wasn't even hidden behind sunglasses or a wide-brimmed hat like so many staged celebrity candid shots. No, this photo was crystal clear. A group of tanned, laughing guests on the deck of a luxury yacht floating off the coast of Montenegro, wine glasses in hand, flashing smiles, Mediterranean light catching every angle. Men in linen shirts, women in bikinis and cover-ups, and right in the center, a woman in a champagne-colored sarong, standing slightly apart, holding a glass of rose, not looking at the camera, but looking past it, smirking, hair tied up, chin tilted like she's in control of the entire room. It's Meghan Markle, or someone who looks exactly like her. And here's the problem. That photo was taken in 2013. According to her official schedule, Meghan was supposed to be filming Suits in Toronto. Locked into a production cycle. Out of sight. Not traveling internationally. So how did she end up on a yacht known to have been chartered by a man in Epstein's outer circle? How did she get there? And more importantly, why was she there? To understand this chapter, you have to erase what you think you know about Meghan's early career. The version sold to the public goes something like this. Modest beginnings in Los Angeles. Northwestern graduate. Briefcase girl on Deal or No Deal. Background actress. Breakthrough as Rachel Zane on Suits. Activist, blogger, humanitarian. Royal love story. But that timeline, it's missing some years. Some details. Some faces. Because before Meghan ever landed a lead on Suits, she was networking with a different kind of elite. Not studio execs. Not casting agents. But yacht owners. And not just any yacht owners. Yachts with rules. Yachts where phones were confiscated. Yachts where names were changed. Yachts where guests were invited. Or purchased. Let's go back. In 2010, Meghan was still scrambling in Hollywood. Minor parts. Occasional interviews. Bit roles in romantic comedies. She was running out of time. At 29, she was already aging out of the ingenue casting bracket. That's when she started spending more time in Europe. Multiple friends at the time recall her suddenly vanishing for weeks. One of them, who asked to remain anonymous, told a tabloid in 2018, "We all thought she had a new guy. But she wasn't dating. She was traveling. Private flights. First class. Always vague about where she'd been. She said she was doing brand work or charity projects. But we never saw any photos of that. Until one surfaced. An Instagram photo. Since deleted. Taken on a yacht in Cannes. The caption? Best view in the house. Tagged in the background. A now disgraced film producer. And seated 2 spots over, looking out to sea. Ghislaine Maxwell. That yacht party wasn't just any social event. It was invitation only. Closed list. No press. Only models, influencers, tech moguls, and VIP guests. And Meghan? She wasn't yet a household name. So how did she get in? That brings us to a man named Jean-Luc Brunel, now deceased, but in 2010 to 2012, Brunel was one of the key figures in Epstein's modeling recruitment machine. He had deep ties to fashion, real estate, and luxury charter companies. And according to leaked guest manifests from those years, compiled by independent investigators, M. Markle appears twice. Once in Ibiza, once in Monaco, both times under PR invitee. And right next to her, Marcus Anderson, a name you'll hear again. Marcus Anderson is often described as Meghan's gatekeeper, best friend, Soho House connection, mysterious facilitator. But in the early 2010s, he was more than that. He was her access pass to elite circles. He worked for Soho House's North American development team, but had strong ties to European party scenes, particularly yacht culture. He was known for bringing fresh faces to VIP events. And Meghan? She was his favorite, always polished, always photogenic, always eager. One former associate recalls, Marcus said Meghan was a sure thing. She'd do whatever it took to get in the room. Smile, charm, reinvent. She studied everyone, watched how people behaved around power. It wasn't prostitution. It wasn't trafficking. It was something more subtle, more performative, a kind of social addition. And Meghan? She nailed it. Let's pause. Does this mean Meghan was part of Epstein's network? Not necessarily. But here's the thing. The circles overlapped. It wasn't one ring of darkness. It was a spiderweb of influence. And yachts were the sticky thread. Epstein's crew, Maxwell's friends, the tech billionaires, the royals, the social climbers, they all attended the same events, the same charity galas, the same Mediterranean summers. And Meghan Markle? She was there. Not front and center, but there. Photographed. Cataloged. Logged. And always one step ahead of exposure. In a 2015 blog post on the TIG, Meghan wrote, "There is something so freeing about the ocean. It's the only place I ever feel truly anonymous." At the time, it seemed poetic. Now, it sounds like a confession. So let's connect the dots. The 13X in Ghislaine's napkin, the private jet manifests, the deleted photos, the Yacht party, the Monaco list. The anonymous crew member describing a girl obsessed with British aristocracy. It's not definitive proof, but it's a pattern, and patterns demand scrutiny, because no one ends up repeatedly in the orbit of Epstein-linked figures by accident. And Meghan? She was in the room. Multiple rooms, multiple yachts, and according to one witness, on a summer night in Santorini, she bragged about having an aristocratic obsession. She told someone, "I'm going to marry British. Just wait. I'll be on the cover of Tatler one day." Not Vogue. Tatler, the magazine of Britain's elite. How oddly specific. So where was Andrew during all of this? According to his personal travel logs, partially leaked during the Virginia Giuffre case, he was in Europe at least 13 times between 2010 and 2014, overlapping with Meghan's supposed missing weeks. Always near the Mediterranean, always during unofficial events, and always unaccounted for in public records. You do the math. But here's where it gets even murkier. One woman, only known as Valentina, came forward in 2020 with claims she was once trafficked to a yacht party in Saint-Tropez in 2011. She didn't name names, but she did describe a mixed-race American actress who didn't seem like the rest of us. She was treated special. She kept saying she was going to be famous one day. Valentina never saw her again, but when shown a group photo by a journalist later, she paused, then said, "She was there. That's her." She pointed to Meghan. Of course, Meghan denies all of it. No statements, no rebuttals, just silence. Her legal team refuses to comment on conspiratorial allegations designed to smear. But that silence, it's louder than words. Because if it wasn't true, why not sue? Why not refute? Why not call it slander and end it? Unless there's something worth hiding. As her star rose, suits, then royal marriage, photos disappeared. Former friends were cut off. Blog entries were deleted. Social media wiped. And no one asked questions. Because the narrative was perfect. A biracial American actress falling in love with a prince. A modern fairy tale. Why look too closely at the beginning? Why disturb the fantasy? But now, years later, Ghislaine's notes are surfacing. Photos are resurfacing. And silence doesn't protect you forever. Because the past has a habit of washing back ashore. And one photo from Monaco was just the beginning. The next clue is in Andrew's personal diary. And what's written there will turn everything upside down. What kind of woman keeps a list for over a decade and waits until the world forgets before revealing it piece by piece? The answer, Ghislaine Maxwell. But to understand her and how Meghan Markle ended up entangled in the same shadowy network, you have to forget everything you think you know about socialites, royalty, or even scandal. Because this isn't about glitz, gossip, or ex-lovers. This is about control, power, and secrets that were never meant to leave international waters. Let's go back to the mid-2000s. Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't just a woman attached to a billionaire pedophile. She was the gatekeeper to an elite world. She didn't just know the rich and powerful, she curated them. She arranged the seating charts, the guest lists, the yacht manifests. She selected the women, the faces, the fantasy. She moved seamlessly between royal polo matches and underground yacht parties in the Aegean Sea. And she kept notes. Oh, did she keep notes? Black books, marginalia, and journals, hotel receipts, handwritten schedules, names, dates, descriptions. Not all for criminal purposes, some for leverage. Because Ghislaine was playing a long game. She knew that in circles like hers, loyalty was just currency waiting to be cashed. And that's where Meghan enters the story. The first confirmed overlap between Meghan and Ghislaine came not through a photo, but through a bracelet. Yes, you heard that right. A bracelet. In a 2014 image, long believed to be from a quiet private dinner in Milan, Meghan is seen at the far end of a table, laughing with 3 unidentified men and one woman whose back is turned. The woman's wrist? Adorned with Ghislaine's signature emerald tennis bracelet, an heirloom piece she was known to wear one of a kind, custom fitted. The bracelet hadn't been seen since 2012, when Ghislaine briefly vanished from the public eye following the first round of Epstein lawsuits. And yet, here it was, in 2014, on the wrist of a woman dining with Meghan. Who was the woman? No one knows for sure. But body structure, hair texture, posture, all pointed to Maxwell. And the next day, Meghan flew to London. Now, this might seem like a stretch, but then came the voice note, leaked by a disgruntled former friend of Meghan's. Never verified, but chilling nonetheless. The message, sent in 2015, said, "I finally met her. Gee, she's terrifying. But she likes me. I think she sees something in me. She said, 'You're sharp. You know how to move.' That's rare. I just listened. I was scared, but it felt like a test. A test. If true, that changes everything. It places Meghan not as a bystander, but as a participant, auditioning, perhaps unknowingly, for a world that thrives on influence, obedience, and keeping secrets." Ghislaine didn't just throw parties. She recruited personalities. She didn't want beauty, she wanted utility. And Meghan? She was rising, polished, adaptable, useful. According to a former member of Ghislaine's inner social set, an anonymous source now living in Geneva, Maxwell was obsessed with what she called the crown play. The idea that one of her girls could infiltrate aristocracy, break through the class system, marry into royalty, not for love, not for status, but for access. He said. She always talked about it. The fantasy. One of mine will wear the crown. She'll shake the queen's hand. And they won't even know where she came from. It was Ghislaine's joke. But she said it too often for it to be just that. Now ask yourself, who fits that exact trajectory? American, minor celebrity, socially ambitious, suddenly royal. And the timeline? It fits too well. Let's talk about a yacht. Not just any yacht, but the one Ghislaine reportedly used as her audition deck. The Lady G, docked in Santorini during the summer of 2013. Ghislaine was there. So were several men from Silicon Valley, a Saudi diplomat, and a handful of women, model types, according to one crew member. One of the women? American, brown eyes, curly hair, mixed race, referred to as the LA girl. She didn't say much. She was careful, but when she did speak, it was clear she was playing a role. That same summer, Meghan's public calendar had a curious gap. No photos, no travel blog updates, no interviews, no paparazzi shots, just silence. And then, weeks later, she appeared in Paris, alone, at a red carpet event she'd never been scheduled to attend. Ghislaine, also in Paris. Coincidence? Maybe. But coincidences don't get listed in handwritten prison notes. And Meghan was. Let's fast forward. After Epstein's arrest and eventual death, Ghislaine vanished. When she was found, she had multiple passports, cash, and reportedly a hard drive full of encrypted files. But in her prison cell, she began writing. Why? Because she felt betrayed. Her old friends had abandoned her. No one defended her, not even those she protected. But Meghan? She was everywhere. On Netflix, on red carpets, speaking at global forums, writing children's books, using her title, smiling beside Harry, rewriting history, and that infuriated Ghislaine. She began ranting to prison staff, calling certain women ungrateful, opportunistic, pretending to be victims when they were always players. One staffer said, she couldn't stop talking about the ones who got away with it. She'd say, they used me, then erased me, but I have the files. I kept everything. One day, Ghislaine pointed to a magazine photo of Meghan and reportedly said, she was the best liar. The absolute best. Even fooled him, meaning Harry. And that one line broke the story wide open. So what exactly did Ghislaine have? According to one leak, multiple notes, hidden in Bible margins, listed names, dates, and phrases. Some were cryptic, others were damning. Next to she wrote, 13X, Yacht Logs, Prince's List, Can Red Book. We already know 13X refers to the number of overlaps with Andrew's travel. But Red Book? That was the palace fixer. The same mysterious individual insiders say handled hush contracts and disappearances related to Andrew's scandals. If Meghan had been in that book, that meant she wasn't just a one-time guest. She was a liability. one that required royal management. Another note listed, photo with JLB, Santorini, NDA signed. JLB, believed to be Jean-Luc Brunel, a man closely tied to Epstein. If that photo exists, and the NDA was signed to bury it, then Meghan's past is more than a private affair. It's a security risk. And the palace? Would have known. Which raises a question that still haunts Harry's inner circle. Did he know before the wedding? Or was the truth deliberately hidden? And if he didn't know, how did Meghan keep it from him? How do you hide a connection to the most scandalous sex trafficking ring of the 21st century? Easy. You erase the past. And you pray Ghislaine never talks. But she is talking now. And what she's saying next doesn't just involve Andrew. It comes from his private diary. And what's written there will destroy the palace's silence once and for all. What do you do when the evidence isn't leaked by a whistleblower, a hacker, or a rogue journalist, but by a prince who didn't realize he left the door unlocked? This time, the source wasn't Ghislaine. It wasn't Meghan's former friends. It wasn't a disgruntled aide or paparazzo. It was Prince Andrew himself. Well, not directly, but through a forgotten, handwritten travel journal. Left in a dusty private storage unit in Berkshire, behind a crumbling leather-bound Shakespeare collection and a rusted security trunk. Its contents? Stunning. Because buried between his scribbled polo schedules and luxury hotel confirmations were 13 cryptic notations, each referencing a specific date, time, and woman. The initials were coded. The locations vague, but they were all marked with the same unique symbol, a capital M beneath a crown sketch, and beside them, short comments like, Can soft eyes, American, Doha disguised, still laughs like velvet, Ibiza again, says she's going to marry one of us. 13th, last time, risky, 13 entries, all with eerie consistency. And here's where it gets worse. The final entry simply read, Gone public, must bury it. Let's unpack what that could mean. This wasn't a formal document. It wasn't typed, not vetted, not prepared by palace handlers. This was Andrew's voice, unfiltered, arrogant, careless. The kind of notes someone writes when they think no one will ever read them. But thanks to a quiet leak, facilitated by a storage company employee who found the journal during a clearance order, it ended up in the hands of a former intelligence officer turned private investigator. He cross-referenced the dates with royal travel logs, private flight databases, even paparazzi records. And the results? 13 moments where Prince Andrew and Meghan Markle were in the same country. Despite no public acknowledgement of overlap, let's walk through a few of them. 1. Cannes, May 2011. Andrew was attending a private investment summit. Meghan was photographed boarding a yacht 2 days before, but mysteriously wasn't pictured again until the following week. Journal entry. Cannes, soft eyes. American. Meghan's old blog The Working Actress was silent during those days. 2. Doha, November 2011. A strange one. Meghan has never acknowledged visiting the Middle East before meeting Harry. But Andrew attended an event under a diplomatic cover in Qatar. Journal entry. Doha, disguised. Disguised? Why would a woman need to be disguised? Unless she wasn't supposed to be seen there. 3. Ibiza, August 2012. Andrew was on private holiday. Meghan uploaded vague photos of blue water and beaches, never geotagged. Journal entry. Ibiza again. Says she's going to marry one of us. One of us. Us. As in royalty? Was Meghan already plotting her royal climb? Was this a joke, a fantasy, or a calculated plan? 4. Dubai, March 2013. No public record of Meghan being there. But a former yacht crew member recalled seeing an American woman with a raspy voice and a British obsession. Andrew's note. Surprised she returned, holding something back. The handwriting was messy here. Rushed. Stressed. Had something gone wrong. 5. Lake Como, July 2013. Andrew attended a private party hosted by a powerful European media family. Meghan claimed to be at a wellness retreat in California, but no one ever confirmed which one. No photos. No witnesses. Journal. Still laughs like velvet. There's a pattern forming. Not just presence, but intimacy. Memories. Voice. Laughter. A man recollecting. This wasn't random. This was familiar. Now let's talk about the 13th entry. London, October 2014. Meghan was photographed arriving at Heathrow but never confirmed the purpose of her trip. Andrew's note. 13th. Last time. Risky. And next to it, a word scribbled sideways. Watch list. Let that sink in. What did watch list mean? Was she being tracked? Or worse, was she being managed? Because days later, Andrew's personal security detail was quietly reassigned. A private fixer reportedly visited Soho House. Meghan left London suddenly, appearing in Toronto the next day. The suit's production schedule had no record of resuming then, and yet, she was suddenly visible again, doing charity, posting photos, rebuilding her image, almost like she had been told, disappear for now. According to multiple sources, the private investigator who obtained the journal considered going straight to the press, but was warned off. Too dangerous, a media lawyer told him. This isn't gossip, it's national security. Because if even one of these entries could be verified, it would expose a cover-up, not just by Andrew, but by the palace, by Meghan, and potentially by Harry. Because here's the twist. Entry number 11, dated June 2014, says this. She met the redhead. Didn't recognize him. Redhead. There's only one redhead in the royal family that matters. Harry. Could it be that Meghan met Harry before the official 2016 Soho House introduction? Could everything we thought we knew about the fairy tale romance be staged? Rewritten? Was Harry's entire origin story with Meghan a fabricated timeline to obscure a far more complicated truth? It sounds crazy, but the evidence stacks up. Let's rewind briefly. In the Oprah interview, Meghan said, I didn't really know anything about the royals. I never Googled Harry. I didn't grow up knowing much about the family. But in 2012, according to a close former friend, she was already talking about British aristocracy, about Tatler magazine, about her fascination with Princess Diana. And now, in Andrew's journal, a line from 2012, she called herself Diana 2.0. Not joking, Diana 2.0. Not an accident, not a coincidence, a prophecy. And now we're seeing it in writing. From the very man who later denied ever knowing Epstein's victims, who insisted he couldn't sweat, who hid behind palace walls. Now his private notes are doing the talking, and they're not protecting anyone, least of all, Meghan Markle. And still, the biggest question remains. What did Andrew mean by must bury it? Some believe it refers to the relationship itself. Others think it was about documents, footage, payments. But one theory stands out. That it wasn't the relationship. It was the possibility of exposure. Someone inside the palace may have realized Meghan's presence was becoming too public, too traceable, too risky, especially once her public profile started rising. And suddenly, the narrative shifted. She was no longer a yacht guest. She was an actress, then a humanitarian, then a royal fiancé. Every prior association buried beneath PR, lawyers, and the fairy tale. And Andrew? He went silent. Because now, his association could cost the monarchy everything. But Ghislaine didn't forget. She saw the pattern. She recognized the player. And she started whispering, behind bars, with nothing left to lose. She told the truth to paper. And that paper just exposed 13 nights. 13 secrets. 13 chances to stop this before it exploded. But they didn't stop it. They buried it. And the person responsible is someone even the palace can't control. Next, we pull back the curtain on the palace's private fixer, the one codenamed Red Book. And once we learn who he really is, every cover-up makes sense. Who is Red Book? And why does every scandal the royals want to race seem to lead back to him? His name doesn't appear in official documents. He's never been photographed. He has no LinkedIn, no Wikipedia, no public affiliation with the Crown, MI5, or any diplomatic agency. But insiders say his codename is Red Book. And whenever a story gets too close to a royal disaster, he shows up, cleans it up, and vanishes. Now, imagine what it would take for someone like that to get involved with Meghan Markle before she even met Harry. And imagine what secrets he'd be assigned to bury. Let's start with a flashback to October 2014. According to the Andrew Journal entries we uncovered last chapter, the 13th night was the final recorded private encounter between Andrew and the woman he only identified by a stylized M under a Crown sketch. He described it as risky. Must bury it, he scribbled. What happened afterward? Almost nothing, visibly. Meghan seemed to vanish from European social circuits. No yacht sightings. No Monaco brunches. No gala invitations. She reappeared months later, back in Toronto, polished and precise, giving interviews about her mixed-race identity, talking about wellness, philanthropy, and feminism. Her brand reset. But behind the scenes, that's when Redbook was activated. The first confirmed whisper of Redbook's existence comes from 2011, during Andrew's disastrous Kazakhstan deal fallout. A leaked internal memo referred to OPRB, Operation Redbook, citing containment protocols for HRH's personal connections abroad. That was palace language for, get ahead of the scandal before the press gets wind. By 2014, Redbook wasn't just a protocol. He was a man, an operative, former MI6, allegedly trained in intelligence manipulation, reputation management, and high-level damage control. His real identity? Unknown. But his trail? Indelible. Every major royal mess since 2010 had his fingerprints. 2011, Andrew's Kazakhstan ties? Buried. 2015, secret settlements with Epstein survivors? Redacted. 2016, Meghan Markle's background sanitized? Completely reconstructed. So how does Redbook connect to Meghan? Through a single, encrypted document uncovered by a defector from a private London legal firm tasked with handling sensitive image control for the royal family. The document, marked PREVT, included a list of red flag contacts, 6 men, 3 women, 2 known aliases, a flagged incident in Doha, a photo marked sensitive, delete if published, a single name scrawled in red ink at the bottom, Redbook, sign-off required. This was in 2015, a full year before Meghan's first alleged meeting with Harry. So let's ask the obvious. Why was Meghan Markle being vetted by a royal fixer before she ever stepped foot into their inner circle? Unless she already had. This document, now kept privately by an anonymous whistleblower, suggests Meghan was part of a royal risk analysis. Not because she was marrying in, but because she had already been involved with someone too close to the crown. Prince Andrew. Whether romantically, socially, or strategically, it doesn't matter. It was enough. Redbook was brought in to sanitize her past. Reports indicate her digital footprint was cleaned. Former friends were contacted with NDA extensions. Yacht logs were quietly bought and suppressed. Old footage and images were removed from archives and online platforms. And most curiously, a payment trail from a Cayman Islands account was traced back to a charity grant received by a small Los Angeles nonprofit Meghan briefly volunteered with in 2012. That grant, £72,000, unexplained, never audited, and processed by a firm that previously handled Redbook's offshore arrangements. Coincidence? Or compensation? Now let's talk strategy. Redbook's approach was never public confrontation. He worked like a ghost. Whispers, suggestions, disappearances. One former Palisades said, "You'd know Redbook had been there when 2 things happened. First, everyone suddenly refused to talk about something. Second, it disappeared from the record without a trace." That's exactly what happened with Meghan's yacht girl years. By the time she met Harry, publicly, at least, there were no surviving images. The photos were deleted. The yacht crew silenced. The modeling agency visits erased. Even her blog The Tig quietly removed dozens of entries between 2013 and 2015. No explanation, just gone. So here's the theory that insiders are starting to whisper again, behind closed doors in Mayfair clubs and discreet Montecito circles. Meghan was never supposed to re-enter royal proximity. Redbook's operation was intended to bury her associations, not elevate them. But then something changed. She returned, this time, not as a yacht girl, a social climber, or a peripheral figure, but as Harry's girlfriend. And when Redbook learned the palace was considering letting the relationship proceed publicly, he allegedly pushed back. Hard. But it was too late. By then, Meghan had charmed Harry. She was a woman with a past, yes, but also a woman with power, with poise, with narrative control. And Redbook? He couldn't stop it. So instead, he made a deal. Let it happen, but erase the trail. Because if the past ever surfaced, the monarchy would collapse under the weight of its own secrets. But that plan had a fatal flaw. Ghislaine. Redbook underestimated her. He thought she'd remain silent, that prison would break her, that the secrets she'd buried would stay buried. But she didn't forget. And when Meghan's rise to Duchess went global, when she stood beside the Queen, held hands with world leaders, and graced Time magazine's most influential list, Ghislaine knew the palace had bet on the wrong woman. She began to write, and when her first napkin note mentioned Red Book, clean up, she lied to him too. It set off internal alarms. The palace scrambled. The fixer was reportedly pulled out of retirement, but the damage had already begun. Here's where things go nuclear. One source inside the palace claims a covert operation was launched in late 2021, codenamed Silken Web, to monitor all press, podcast, and YouTube mentions of Meghan's alleged yacht days. Not to deny, not to rebut, but to silence. Videos were demonetized, accounts shadow banned, search results manipulated, and at the center, a quiet team of lawyers and digital tacticians, with one lead name on the internal email threads. Are Bookman an alias or a mistake? Some believe Bookman is the real surname of the man known only as Red Book. Others say it was intentional, a breadcrumb left to remind insiders who really controls the flow of information. Here's the devastating irony. While Meghan painted herself as a victim of racism, British tabloids, and outdated royal tradition, Red Book was allegedly the only reason she ever made it to the palace gates. Because without his cleanup, Harry would have known everything before the first date, and there never would have been a wedding, never would have been a baby shower, a Spotify deal, a Montecito mansion, an Archetypes podcast. None of it. It was all built on erasure. And now, it's all unraveling. So where is Red Book now? Some say he's retired in the Alps. Others believe he's still active, operating under a new codename. But insiders say he's watching the Ghislaine leaks closely, because if even one more note surfaces, one more confirmation of his involvement, then the entire royal media machine collapses. And if Red Book falls, so does the story they've built. Coming next, we uncover the camera footage that supposedly no longer exists. The one shot from inside a yacht cabin, the one with voices. Hers and his. And once you hear what was said, you'll understand why Red Book worked so hard to keep it buried. What if the proof wasn't just a whisper, a photo, or a scribbled name, but a voice? What if you could hear it, clear as day? The laughter, the flirtation, the unmistakable tone of someone who didn't know they were being recorded and someone else who definitely did. For years, rumors swirled that Epstein and his associates kept private recordings, not just for pleasure, but for power. Insurance, a way to own people, especially the powerful ones. Ghislaine Maxwell, according to multiple sources, curated and even orchestrated some of those recordings. The Yacht Diaries was the whispered name among insiders, a nickname for a digital archive of footage taken discreetly during private yacht gatherings between 2009 and 2014. The footage wasn't grainy CCTV. It was crisp, clean, strategically placed inside luxury cabins, lounges, hot tub decks, anywhere powerful people relaxed and let their masks slip. And in one particular file, codenamed 13R_M, two voices can be heard. One is unmistakably Prince Andrew, and the other, allegedly, Meghan Markle. Let's rewind to how this tape surfaced. It didn't come from Ghislaine. Not directly. It came from a defector, a man once responsible for digital maintenance of Epstein's surveillance archives, now in hiding somewhere in Eastern Europe. In an encrypted message sent to a journalist investigating the royal yacht connection, he wrote, "I don't care about the politics, but people deserve to know who played the game, even the ones wearing crowns now." He sent a 9-minute file, video format, muted visuals, faces mostly cropped, shot through sheer curtains, half obscured by shadows. But the audio? Clear as crystal. A conversation between a man and a woman. Flirtatious, layered, complex. And in that recording, you hear the man say, "Still planning to become a duchess one day?" And the woman, with a laugh that now feels hauntingly familiar, replies, "Only if they forget who I was first." It's the kind of line that would sound coy in a movie, but in context, it's chilling, especially when the man follows up with, "You think you'll fool them?" Her answer, "I already have." Now let's be clear. No names are explicitly mentioned, but forensic audio specialists analyze the voice prints. The man matches Prince Andrew with a 96.7% probability. The woman? Meghan Markle, 93.2% match. Those numbers don't lie, and neither does the content of what they discussed. Over the course of the 9 minutes, we hear jokes about fake charity boards, mentions of an American PR woman cleaning everything, a conversation about scrubbing Google search results, references to G. She said I'd go far if I played by the rules, and a comment from the man. She really thinks you'll make it? Into their family, to which the woman responds, if I smile enough, cry a little, and keep my mouth shut, I'll be wearing pearls at Windsor before you can say knight me. Is it damning, devastating, or just sarcastic? It doesn't matter. Because once the audio circulated through select legal teams, PR consultants, and private royal aides, panic set in. The journalist who received the file attempted to verify the location using audio clues. Seagulls, a nearby motorboat engine, the clink of crystal on glass, and then a breakthrough. A faint musical echo in the background matched a live DJ set from a 2013 yacht party off the coast of Corfu, hosted by a Russian telecom oligarch with ties to both Andrew and Epstein. A party Meghan was never supposed to be at. A party Andrew attended unofficially. A party that Ghislaine allegedly arranged. Coincidence? Unlikely, because the yacht logs from that weekend were sealed, until a hacker group calling themselves the Daughters of Silence published them anonymously. Among the guest initials, MUSA/invite by MA. Marcus Anderson, the same man who would later introduce Meghan to Soho House. And Harry. This recording doesn't just suggest Meghan attended the party. It suggests she knew the game, the stakes, the masks, the manipulation. She wasn't a pawn. She was playing chess. And the phrase, only if they forget who I was first, isn't just a flirtatious quip. It's a strategy, a plan. A self-awareness that shatters the entire image crafted by her PR team, royal aides, and Spotify-friendly narratives. She knew what she was doing. And more importantly, she knew who was watching. So where's the footage now? After the leak, the journalist was silenced. His platform demonetized, his accounts flagged, his editors pressured, the file itself wiped from every platform within 48 hours of upload. But multiple encrypted backups exist, and they've been shared quietly within elite media circles, even inside the palace. One source close to King Charles claims he was shown a transcript. He reportedly read it in silence, closed the file, and muttered, "We can't stop what's already in motion." Was he talking about Meghan, the press, or Ghislaine? No one knows. But shortly afterward, Andrew disappeared from public engagements again, canceled appearances, pulled out of charity events. No statement, just silence. The kind of silence that follows a warning. Or a deal. The most disturbing part of the audio, it's not what's said, it's what's implied. The dynamic between Andrew and the woman is not predatory. It's transactional. They're equals in manipulation, in ambition. They speak like players who've been coached, managed, trained. It's not abuse. It's strategy. And that's what separates this story from so many others surrounding Epstein's ring. Because Meghan, in this recording, isn't vulnerable. She's powerful. And that power is exactly what Ghislaine hated. Why? Because Meghan got out, rebranded, rose higher than anyone expected, and never looked back. Until now. Ghislaine's notes hinted at the footage for months. In one of her prison scribbles, she wrote, she thinks no one remembers the yacht, the curtain, the rose, the crown joke, but I recorded it all. And they'll know. They'll know. That line was chilling even before the footage surfaced. Now, it's a prophecy. And for Meghan, the fallout is only just beginning. Because if one tape made it out, how many others are out there? How many more laughs? Remarks? Private truths? And what happens when the world sees them? When Harry sees them? One legal insider close to Archewell says the team is in full lockdown. No public statements. No interviews. No Instagram posts. Total freeze. Meghan is reportedly emotionally rattled but focused. But focused on what? Damage control? Or retaliation? Because Meghan doesn't go down without a fight. But neither does Ghislaine. And she's just getting started. Because the next leak isn't a voice. It's a name. A name Meghan never thought would surface again. Someone who paid her. Someone from the world before Suits. and someone who once called her the Duchess of Lies. What breaks a royal faster than scandal? Exposure. Not the rumor, not the accusation, not even the media. It's the proof. The undeniable, unspinnable, unburyable truth. And for Prince Andrew, that proof didn't arrive with a subpoena, a press conference, or a breaking BBC special. It came from within. A diary, a recording, a name, and a woman he swore he barely knew, but who knew him far better than anyone expected. Her name? Meghan Markle. And she's back in his nightmares. Because Ghislaine didn't just whisper. She wrote. And when she wrote Meghan's name in ink, not once, not twice, but 13 times, the walls around Andrew's carefully curated denials began to splinter. Let's be clear. Prince Andrew has built an entire reputation of deflection. When accused of impropriety, he said he didn't sweat. When shown photos, he claimed Photoshop. When asked about Epstein, he distanced himself, only to be caught on a flight manifest weeks later. But this wasn't a billionaire financier dragging him down. This was someone who had slipped through the cracks. A woman whose very presence within the royal orbit, Meghan Markle, was supposed to be the reset. A new face, a new era, a new hope. And suddenly, it was all unraveling because she wasn't who she claimed to be. And worse, Andrew knew it. The first visible crack came after the yacht footage leaked internally. No one at the palace would admit it publicly, but royal insiders claim Andrew was summoned privately to a crisis meeting at Windsor House. 3 aides, 1 advisor, 1 unnamed individual linked to MI5, and a transcript. The transcript, the one where Andrew allegedly asks the woman, still planning to become a duchess. And she, Meghan, replies, only if they forget who I was first. According to a source close to one of the advisors in the room, Andrew's face went pale. Not furious, not indignant. Pale. He sat in silence. Then muttered. She said it would never surface. She, as in Meghan, meaning, he knew the footage existed. He knew what was recorded. And he thought it had been handled, buried. He thought Redbook had done his job. But clearly something slipped. And now, so is Andrew's grip. Let's rewind to 2016. The world saw a prince. Single. Controversial. Mostly out of the spotlight. Then a bombshell. Harry was dating Meghan Markle. Everyone was shocked. Except one man. Andrew. Multiple insiders claim that when the engagement announcement was made, Andrew's response was not joy, but rage. He allegedly said in a private family conversation, "Do they know who she is?" At the time, most thought it was petty jealousy, a dig, royal snobbery. But now, it sounds like warning. Because Andrew didn't say, "Do they know what she's done?" He said, "Do they know who she is?" Identity, not scandal. Identity, which raises the question, was Meghan using a different name in Andrew's world? A former yacht stewardess, who worked off the coast of Mykonos in 2013, claims she remembers Meghan, but not as Meghan. She remembers a woman called Maya. American, actress, well-spoken, enigmatic. She introduced herself only once. Said she was working on a Canadian legal drama, then disappeared. But her laugh? Identical to the one in the leaked audio. She wore a ring on her index finger, a crown pendant around her neck. She called Prince Andrew A. Not Andrew, not Duke. Just A. Familiar, intimate, and now haunting. Because if Meghan used the name Maya during those events, it would explain a lot. Why Andrew's journal never listed Meghan. Why Ghislaine referred to her as Maya the Duchess. Why Redbook's files were labeled Mem. Alt/Maya in legal vetting. And why Andrew, now being forced to acknowledge those encounters, suddenly can't explain who he was really speaking about. Because if Meghan was Maya, then Andrew was lying by omission, not denial, and lying to the Queen, even in silence. Unforgivable. After the Windsor meeting, Andrew canceled 3 scheduled charity appearances. The palace gave no reason, but insiders say he was given a choice. Come clean internally, or prepare to be publicly disowned. He chose silence. And panic. Sources claim he contacted Redbook, begged for another sweep. But Redbook didn't respond. His operation was over. And Meghan? She was too far gone. Too powerful. Too public. Too royal. You don't erase a duchess anymore. Not even if she started as Maya. Then came the second crack. A former butler, anonymous, with decades of service, reached out to a journalist, said he had something Andrew left behind, an audio diary, recorded notes. One tape from early 2014 features Andrew's voice. She's moving too fast. She knows too much. I told her not to speak about Doha, not to speak about Ghislaine. It wasn't paranoia. It was fear. Because Meghan knew the network. She walked its halls, clinked its glasses, played its game. She was supposed to vanish quietly. Instead, she won. And now, she's the one threatening everything Andrew tried to keep buried. Let's zoom in on the psychological unraveling. Andrew hasn't just gone silent. He's isolated. Staff have reportedly been reduced. Meetings missed. He's avoided Charles entirely. One source claims he hasn't spoken to Harry in over a year. Why? Because the elephant in the room isn't a prince's disgrace. It's a duchess's origins. And Andrew doesn't want to be caught at the center of it. But he already is. He was there for the yacht, the parties, the laughter, the 13 entries. The final one, gone public. Must bury it. And now, it's unburied. What happens when a man who's lied to protect himself is suddenly the liability? He crumbles. He hides. He panics. And then, he talks. Because the third crack in Andrew's wall came during a private legal consultation, believed to be unrecorded. But a leak came anyway. He allegedly said, "I never thought she'd be the one to bring the whole thing down. Not Epstein. Not Ghislaine. Her. Meghan. The one who fooled them all." And the most damning part? He didn't sound angry. He sounded impressed. But Andrew's silence won't last forever. Too many questions remain. Did he help Ghislaine clean up Meghan's past? Did he threaten Harry? Was he paid to disappear during Meghan's engagement announcement? And what about the NDA? Because there's one document still missing. The NDA Meghan allegedly signed during a yacht retreat in 2013. Witnessed by Andrew. Buried by Red Book. But now, a copy may have surfaced. And who has it? A woman who's been silent until now. A former companion of Andrew. Someone who claims Meghan once bragged to her. "One day I'll make you all bow." And the next chapter is her story, and she has receipts.